You got to try on that left-hand side. What happened?
But I've gone up and over and bloody head over biscuit. It wasn't enough stability there for myself, but no, I was busting for a bit to make this game. It didn't seem to work out.
Hello, cheers, and welcome to the Scrum of the Earth podcast, the weekly show for news, reviews, great interviews, and so much more, all about the world of rugby. My name is David Lawrence. I'm an American rugby fan who follows the game wherever I can find it all over the globe. If you'd like to get in touch, I'm on Blue Sky @ofscrum, and you can always just drop an email to the scrumoftheearth@gmail.com. Well, as you have no doubt deduced, this is not your regular weekly episode, but is in fact yet another bonus episode. This time I am thrilled to have back two of my favorite returning guests to chat the return of European rugby. It is, of course, Patricia and Jonny. First of all, coming to us live, I assume, from a room in a cinema where she's waiting to sneak into her third movie today. It's Patricia Vieira. How the heck are you, Patricia?
I was there yesterday and the day before, so I took today off. Although, to be fair, I was there on Friday, and about 20 minutes after the film was supposed to start, they came in and went, "We're having IT issues and the screen isn't working today, so you're all going to have to go home." So wow. I was there, but I didn't get to watch a film.
Damn. So, Jonny, I was trying to do the same thing. I was like, because the joke on your show is always they like to chat about you being a Tory, and I was thinking, okay, I have to have Jonny coming to us live from someplace really posh, and I was trying to think of a place that fit the bill in Glasgow. Eventually, I reached out to John Anderson. I was like, what's a good option here? What's a really posh place in Glasgow? And he was basically like, you've obviously never been to Glasgow.
I mean, there are posh places, relatively. I wasn't in any posh places this weekend. I was not in Glasgow this weekend. I've been back in my hometown making what I can only describe as a series of increasingly bewildering life choices, and I'm paying for it today, so... I'm excited to bring my usual positivity this afternoon.
Oh, yes. I'm very excited. By the way, I don't know why I came across this, but Patricia, when I was trying to come up with a movie theater gag, I remembered there was a book a long time ago called Sniglets, and it's basically words that don't exist that should exist. And there was a sniglet for the sticky stuff on the floors in movie theaters. Any guesses what that word might be?
No, absolutely not. I think anything that comes to my mind is probably inappropriate anyway.
Cinemuck. I've always liked that one. This stepping in the Cinemuck. And Jonny, another favorite sniglet of mine was, of course, the sniglet that means
David,
the ability
I'm not
to control.
emotionally prepared to think about
that. You don't have to wager a guess. I'll just tell you. The ability to control the faucets in the bath with your feet. Aquadextrous. Very sensible. Anyway, this is the little graphic I came up with.
I like that one. That was better.
I went looking and I used Gemini to get me a posh investor drinking a Heineken holding a rugby ball. I don't know why they still can't get the letters right. It's like the ball says like grill or something like that. It's very strange, but I love the pick. Jonny, the knockouts are upon us. Pop quiz. How many teams will be involved in the round of 16 this year?
That one I could just about manage. I hope it's 16.
So, Patricia, it's been several months since we've seen this competition. I feel like it's hard to remember. Like, have you been enjoying the European action this time around?
Let me look at what Munster's results have been like. No, not really. To be fair, there have been some good games in this year's pool stages. I think we kind of all agree, though, that the pool stages don't tend to matter that much. Or at all. So, but it was nice to have like some good games to sort of keep us going while we were waiting for the part of the season that actually does matter, which is what we're heading into now.
I'm excited. This is really when it gets good. So in the Big Cup, 4 teams have been handed their walking papers. The Rancid Husk of Exeter, along with the, do you think we should have more than one fly half on our roster? Bristol Bears, they're out entirely, as well as the can't get the straw in the hole anymore, Stade Francais, and of course, incomprehensible Stormers. Patricia, which of those teams are you most sad that we won't see in the knockouts?
Probably Stade Francais, I guess. I mean, like a French team is kind of always the sort of the go-to pick. Stade Francais are quite fun. They did play Munster in the pool stages this year, and sort of descend into WWE when the rugby wasn't working out too well for them. So I'm not surprised that they're maybe not in the knockouts, but they will be missed.
Jonny, same question. Are you going to miss any of those teams?
Yeah, I'll probably miss Bristol. Bristol are always fun, even when they're terrible, and like that's been more often than not recently. I feel like we should miss Stormers, but actually I don't think we will because they have been mince this year. Like I don't know what's happened.
Oh, weird.
You know, we support the league that the Stormers play in every week, so it's not like it's less of a novelty for us. We just watch them whenever we want, really.
That's true. The Premiership, of course, was inequitably featured this year. I think we complained about the ratios on our last pod. And what do you know? 2 of the 4 teams to not even make it to the Challenge Cup consolation pool are Prem clubs. Is this just further evidence of the crumbling edifice that is English rugby?
It's just a bit of a fraudulent league, to be honest. I don't really know why they're still bothering with it.
Do you know my favourite thing remains about the Prem is the amount of English Premiership fans who are complaining that the coverage over here is on Premier Sports now because it used to be on TNT, which is where the Premiership is.
I heard about this.
And they're like, this is a disgrace. Now we have to buy an extra subscription just to watch this. And the rest of us are like, yeah, okay, but actually, because we watch the URC or the Japan Top League or Major League Rugby or the Top 14, we can just watch the Challenge Cup or the Champions Cup on the subscription we've already got. Like that's a you problem. You're the one league persisting with TNT and paying £35 a month for it. Like the rest of us are on a much cheaper service, and all of our domestic leagues are on there and the European Cups. So
since they lost these clubs, you know, I guess you can't really say recently, but it just hasn't felt the same. Like there's so few teams now. Every week I look at the results and I'm like, where's the rest? It's very strange.
Yeah, I think having 8 teams in a 10-team league in the Heineken Cup as well was only really going to end one way. And
yeah,
like it's kind of stupid, but.
So the teams that did make that consolation ladder, of course, are Sharks, Bath, the Bulls, and somehow Racing 92. Patricia, the Sharks won the Challenge Cup last year, got moved up, crapped themselves for the last 3 games in a row, and then are somehow right back in a position to make a run at the Challenge Cup title. Let's not forget, they've been finding some good form lately, depending on the day. They've snuck into 4th in the URC, or at least when I was writing this. Imagine if they won the Challenge Cup 2 years in a row. I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, like you wouldn't consider myself an expert on the Challenge Cup. I think if you asked me to name 5 teams in it, I'd probably struggle. Even though I could just name the URC teams that are, you know. But as long like the Sharks and the Bulls being in the Challenge Cup is kind of frustrating because why don't they bring that form to the URC where it would really benefit, you know, our teams more? To watch them sort of crumble like that, like the Sharks did last season. Like that was very good of them. They haven't done that domestically this year, so. I mean, if they win the Challenge Cup, at least you won't get that weird URC loophole where the team that finishes in 8th gets booted out. So, and as supporting someone whose team could very easily finish in 8th this season, I wouldn't mind that, to be honest.
What was it John referred to? Something about the Edinburgh and the URC this year. He referred to them as, you know, competing in the race to 12. Vicious. Anyway, I want to do a quick sort of micro segment on the Challenge Cup because I do often feel like I'm literally the only person watching and that nobody cares.
You are.
It's becoming kind of obvious.
Excuse me, there's a big Welsh Challenge Cup derby coming up next weekend.
There is. I'm actually excited for that.
There's at least 7 people that care about that.
Well, 6 of the teams have been sent back home to, as the teachers might say, think about what they've done. Those teams are Black Lion. I think they kind of massively disappointed expectations. Vaughan, who may be, maybe regretting getting promoted in the first place. The Dragons, I mean, duh. And of course, Newcastle, who could be in much deeper trouble. And then Zebre, of course, big shock. And my fave, the Cheetahs. I'm sad to see them go. Patricia, did you have any hopes for any of these teams? Are you going to miss one? Are you surprised that this is the list?
I am a big Zebra fan this season. I think when your team gets beaten by Zebra, you kind of go, do you know what? Maybe Zebra aren't as bad as we all thought.
Is this Stockholm syndrome?
It might be, you know, I left a part of myself in Parma, I feel like. But I would have liked to see them go on a run, to be honest. Because they have actually, like, you know, obviously they beat Munster, but they have found some pretty good URC forms sort of on and off since then. So it would have been nice if they could have translated that. But I think that they're, you know, without being too harsh, they're maybe the teams that you would expect to see
Yeah.
fall by the wayside, like the Dragons and Black Lion. I mean, the Dragons are, I think, mathematically the only team who don't have a chance to qualify for the top 8 in the URC as it stands out of all 16. So, yeah, it's probably not surprising from that point of view, I suppose.
The cheaters are so fun, and they just get screwed. Like they have to be nomads. They're like, oh, where are we living this week? And then they come and make a good run of it anyway. And their fans are so fun. It's really great to watch. Like all the kit in the stands looks homemade. It looks like people are at home like crafting cheetah things instead of just buying a jersey. It's great. Jonny, you gonna miss any of these teams?
Yeah, I mean, probably also Zebri. I feel like at this point, like Zebri deserves something nice to happen to them. Like, and even if it was just like a bit of a run to the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup or something, like being a Zebri supporter must be so soul destroying. Like, at least you get to live in Parma instead of Newport. But other than that, like every time it looks like something nice might happen, then all of a sudden it doesn't happen. And they've had a couple of nice URC results this year. Like, they deserve a good thing to happen to them. And yeah, I kind of thought maybe the Challenge Cup might be the thing for them, but obviously not again.
Yeah. I love that their fans always come out anyway. Like, it's pretty great. There's no expectation of winning, and then there they are in the stands. Maybe it's just nice out. I don't know.
Their fans are great, to be fair. As somebody who had, an up-close and personal experience with Zebra fans, their fans were brilliant.
It looks like a party every weekend. So the round of 16 begins on Friday with Edinburgh hosting the Lions. Pau are home for Bath. Bayonne welcome the Bulls. And Parole City, as I call Montpellier, they face Gloucester. Jonny, are all 4 home teams winning? By the way, if they made a Parole City jersey, I would buy it.
Yeah, I think they probably are, like, realistically. Montpellier, Gloucester could be interesting, I think. Gloucester looked fairly wild this weekend. Edinburgh against the Lions could be a bit interesting. The Lions team that they've set up for this tour didn't look like it was up to much last night when they got absolutely spanked by Glasgow. But
so weird.
But Edinburgh are also unspeakably terrible. So, there's potential for that. Montpellier, Gloucester is the one I think you'd be most interested in, potentially an away upset there. But it's 4 where at least 2 of them should be more than straightforward.
Patricia, agree? All the home teams in those 4 matchups?
Yeah, probably. I think that there are games this weekend that have really quite big potential to be away wins, like those sort of upset games that you see in this competitions. But I don't think that these are those.
Well, the other 4 are, of course, Perpignan versus Racing 92. That could be an absolute stinker. Connacht versus Cardiff. No idea what to expect there. Lyon, they get a home fixture against last year's champions, Sharks. And then we've got, as you mentioned, a Welsh derby with the Ospreys in Swansea for Scarlets. Patricia, same question. Any upsets there, or are the home teams are we just going chalk?
I mean, didn't the Ospreys play the Scarlets last week?
I think.
Yesterday.
Yeah, they played them yesterday.
So, I mean, with Welsh teams like that, actually, I feel like, and that's based off nothing but kind of, you just feel like it happens a lot. I think that happens a lot between the Ospreys and the Scarlets, where they end up playing each other 26 times a season. Anything could happen in that game. You know what I mean? Like the Scarlets, I think, beat them quite comfortably yesterday, but that doesn't mean that the same thing will happen literally 7 days later. The Sharks, I guess, are that team where if they turn on anything, they could do anything, but I don't know, what kind of team they're sending up, because they were at home the last couple of weeks in the URC, so they haven't been on the road. Cardiff, I think, is probably the one to watch out of those, though. They're doing really weirdly well this season, and the wheels haven't fallen off it yet. Whether they will or not, maybe they're going to be a top 8 team this season. And going to Connacht, I mean, I watched the Connacht game yesterday. I don't watch many of them, but I did watch them play yesterday, and they're no great shakes. To be honest, I can say that because Munster aren't playing them again this season, so it's absolutely fine.
My new theory is if Connacht score the first 2 tries, it's a guarantee they will lose.
I think that they are not a very good team, and they have that potential, and they tend to sort of see other Irish provinces as their final, so they turn into sort of the 2015 All Blacks whenever they play an Irish province. Is really, really annoying. But in general, I don't think that they're, I think if there's an away win to sort of be nabbed there, I think Cardiff would fancy themselves away at Connacht.
I fear that's true. Johnny, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean that's probably the most likely. You, like Patricia says, you would fancy the Sharks, but I don't think it's going to be the Sharks. Like I don't think we'll see the 13 Springboks team that they've been playing at home in the URC, playing in an away Challenge Cup last 16 game. Like they're already the holders. They probably don't care that much.
How did the Sharks lose this weekend? Leinster sent the kids. Like they called me and left a message asking if I could come. And like still the Sharks were like, here you go. It was the weirdest thing.
Look, I never like to see Leinster winning a rugby game, but it was directly beneficial to the sort of the teams caught in the crush section of the URC that the Sharks lost last weekend. So, you know, it was nice to see in that regard. Although I don't know if you saw the video of some of their players diving into the swimming pool after the game finished. So there's a few of the Leinster players sort of went headfirst over the barrier into the little kiddie pool in the Shark Stadium. Terrifying because that pool is about a foot deep. They could have all died.
And filled with kids, I think.
It didn't look great at all, but yeah, they were they felt really good because, you know, they've never won a URC game in South Africa, and like bless them, you know, they finally got that moment, and it was really lovely to see for a team like that. So yeah, it was nice.
Maybe after some of them graduate, they can do it again. That'd be great. So swinging back around to the Heineken Cup. Yes, I know it's not called that, but we all know that that's what it is. I refuse to budge on that. By the way, do either of you drink Heineken? Like, what's your verdict on the iconic Dutch brand?
No, it tastes like piss.
It does. It's because the green
I
bottles.
don't mind the Heineken.
How do they? Even Budweiser knows you need a brown bottle, or the Sunlight Skunks beer. That's how it works. Like, enough with the green bottles.
I'm not a huge beer drinker in general, though. So I might not be the best person to be like an authority on Heineken, but I don't think I would ever be in a pub, and if like the options were sort of limited like that, I don't think I'd go, oh yeah, I'll have a Heineken, please.
Johnny, what about you? Are you hiding a Heineken underneath the camera right now? Oh, I think Johnny might have frozen. He might just be tired, but I think he's frozen. Oh,
I to get a Heineken.
I'm back. No, I think my kids are watching a film, so I think we're stretching the bandwidth a little bit, which is fine because like I don't want to get involved in a discussion about Heineken anyway. I can pass that. That's okay.
Well, so this weekend we've got Northampton hosting Claremont. Of all these fixtures, this is the one that makes me just go, what? Like, do either of you know anything about either of these teams?
I know too much about Northampton. I wish I knew much less about them. I think they've played Munster approximately 42 times in the last 3 seasons. I was in Northampton for the last round of the pool stages, and when I got off the train in Northampton, I knew how to get to the hotel and the pub without like Google Maps or anything like that. I shouldn't be in that situation, you know, like that's not right. That's not ethical. But that's the situation I found myself in. Northampton have been, by my understanding, absolutely ass in every game except the one they played against Munster this season. So I don't know if they will stoop to the level of losing at home to Claremont, who are also not great. But I think that could be a sort of, you know, 2 mid teams having a mid-off kind of game where you don't really know who's going to win because they're matching each other's level in a way.
Johnny, agree?
Yeah, I'm nominally a Northampton fan, but as we've discussed already, I'm not paying £36 a month just for the English Premiership, just so I can watch Northampton. So I tend to like catch up with them more on the highlights and the socials that actually watch the games.
Were you outraged by the rebranding? What do you like? What do you think about the new badge and everything?
Oh, it's awful, and I think it is the cause of most, if not all, of Northampton's problems. Like, I don't get it. And then one of the justifications was that it's easier for kids to draw.
Really?
I was just like, what? Who's
I heard it was more mobile friendly. I thought it was so it can display easier on a phone, which also sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, equally terrible reason.
It kind of turns they look like the Lego minifig versions of themselves now. It's kind of interesting. Leinster, they're going to be sure to beat Harlequins. I feel pretty sure about that. I doubt anyone cares who wins Cast versus Benetton. Patricia, do you care about either of those matchups?
I hope for nothing but bad things for the home teams in both of those games. Leinster Quins is a kind of a weird one because Leinster are definitely just going to win by like 35 points.
Yeah,
but there's always a sort of, there's at least one a season normally where there's like a ridiculous result, like something that just objectively should not happen. For selfish reasons, this year I hope it's Ulster beating Bordeaux, obviously, but it's the kind of thing that, it normally happens once a year. And it could be Quins. Like, Leinster have been sort of, I feel like, sleepwalking through games a bit this season, and Quins, they decide to show up and play like they can, have the potential to sort of have scored 3 tries before Leinster even wake up. So, like, that in theory could be an interesting game. But then really what's going to happen is they'll bring on their sort of €3 million bench and everything will be fine. Cast, I just hope they go into administration, to be honest. I hope they go bust. They shouldn't exist, shouldn't be there. I'd love to see Benetton get as far as possible in the cup, because I think that would be really cool, just in general. Cool. Oh.
By the way, I've been complaining about how boring Leinster are for several years now. Like, am I wrong about that? I would never say they're bad. They're clearly one of the great, best clubs in the world, but I find them excruciating to watch. Is it just me?
Real dull, real dull. Just nothing of any sort of spectator value there. Shareholder value through the roof, spectator value not so much.
It's weird because I love Bordeaux, and they're another team that's always winning.
You're 100% right.
It's just, I don't know, something about their style. It's weird. What else we got? By the way, I did want to ask
I'm
both
significantly more annoyed about my connection, because I'd love to badmouth Leinster.
Oh, feel free. This is the place for it.
I don't care about talking about Heineken, but I'd love to talk shit about Leinster.
Oh, feel free. We're here for that very thing. And by the way, do you think Harlan could shock him?
Do I think they could shock them? Yes. Do I think they will shock them? Most likely not. Like, I would love it. Like, and it's probably my selfish reason. Like, I'd love Leinster out of our way. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be nice.
By the way, I was curious what either of you think about this. What's the deal with Marcus Smith? Great player, good player. Is England using him wrong? I have it on good authority from Netflix that he's right on the cusp of being a mega star in America.
Good player.
I just wonder if he's going to be so mad at those guys who were like, "You're on the cusp of being a huge star, man." And he's like, "Really? Oh, okay."
You should buy a G-Wagon. Buy the car that the baddies use in Indiana Jones, and that will definitely tip you over the edge.
So strange. But what do we think? Like, I spotted him years ago and was like, this guy seems special, and you see it sometimes, but he's always getting criticized by almost everybody. Like, where do we land on him? Should we just land in the middle? Like, oh yeah, he's good, but he's not all that.
Yeah, that's kind of probably where I am.
Yeah. No, like, you go because your connection's so bad.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. Like he's good. I think people who like say he shouldn't be in the England team or whatever are being unnecessarily stupid, and just like objectionable for basically no reason. Like, he's a good player. What they're hoping for. He's okay. I think it was very telling that England put all of the Harlequins players that they could around him, and he still didn't do that well in the 2023 World Cup. And then Andre Esterhuizen went to play for South Africa, and South Africa won the World Cup. Like, it's almost like he's the good player.
I think there might be a connection. By the way, of all the upcoming fixtures, the one that has me going, ooh, has got to be Toulon, who haven't lost at home all season, hosting Saracens, who are the definition of a middle-of-the-road team this season. Either of you think the Sarries might take down Les Rouges et Noirs?
Probably not, but if anyone's going to do it, the Saracens probably.
The 6-6 Saracens. It's totally bizarre. By the way, did either of you see who made history for Toulon this weekend by becoming the oldest player in the top 14?
Fucking man on him. Like, what's he doing there? Retire. He's 42 years old.
He's 42. Former San Diego Legion and All Black, but
it's too old to be playing for Toulon. It's just objectively too old.
So, Jonny, your Yosemite Sam Warriors, they are facing the most, I've been told they were good, and there's a lot of history and all that, Leicester. What is Franco's game plan for this? What do you see happening in this matchup?
Put back in our actual starting team for the first time in about 6 months and just assume that we're better than them, which I think probably isn't that unsafe of an assumption. I think it's going to be a difficult game. I think people who think that this is going to be a bit of a walkover for Glasgow are in for a bit of a nasty shock. But I think if Glasgow bring back in our actual starting team, who we haven't seen for a very long time, I think there's enough in there that probably we should beat them. So,
when is Sione coming back? Do they have a timetable?
He's
Jonny,
thinking about it.
I'm not sure if you heard
I
that.
heard way ahead of schedule.
Oh, really? Not surprised.
Yeah, but potentially within the next couple of weeks. I think it was Pete Murchie that got interviewed and said that he's hit his rehab with unbelievable amounts of dedication. He's way ahead of schedule, and it could just be as much as a couple of weeks. So that would be lovely.
It's weird. You mentioned that people think it's going to be a walkover. It seems like Glasgow never have a walkover. Even when they're winning a lot, it never feels like a walkover. It always feels like a struggle.
Yeah,
that might be a good sign. I don't know.
We make very bad teams. We make very bad teams look like they're going to win for a very long time. Case in point, Munster nearly won last weekend.
I knew that one was coming, but that's all right. That's fine.
And that Munster team was horse shit.
Yeah, because all of Munster's players were injured. They came back last week and they were good. They were really good yesterday.
Well, by the way, I thought it was kind of mean of Glasgow to not just let everyone go home at halftime yesterday. It looked Baltic, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to score 42 points, and then everyone's going to go to sleep." At some point, they should give a second half refund or something.
Lions winning the toss last night and then choosing to play into the wind against Glasgow at Scotland.
It was pretty windy. I think we're getting bluey interference on the bandwidth there.
It's fine. He probably wasn't making a very good point anyway.
I'm going to go see if I can switch it off.
Okay, good, because you probably don't want to talk about your second favorite team. Where did I just go? Oh, right. So it's been a really weird season, Patricia, for your Munster team, but La Rochelle are a complete shambles at the moment. Will the sort of magic of a French team just playing at home be enough to knock out your team? By the way, I foresee Munster really doing a job on them. I think La Rochelle are going to kind of show up and embarrass themselves.
Yeah, Munster winning this game, I feel. I genuinely just feel like it has been a real up and down season, more so than the last few. That's not nice as someone who supports a team. You kind of look at the Leinsters of the world and you're like, that must be albeit extremely boring, but that must actually be quite nice to just sort of not have to think about it all the time and not have it sort of completely dictate your mood. But Munster's players have, like they tend to do, sort of come back from injury just at the right time. A lot of them played yesterday, and who would have thought that having all your best players on the pitch means that your team plays better? They played really, really well yesterday. Craig Casey came straight back in after a long injury and looked like he'd never left. I know for a fact there's a huge Munster support going to this game.
Oh, nice.
I know that because I'm one of them. So I will be there. And there's so many Munster supporters going. They've blocked off, I think, a town square and 3 streets for us or something. It's going to be huge, and I think that it's the exact kind of game that Munster go and win. Like I said about one sort of freak result a year. I don't know if it's necessarily a freak result. I think that these teams are probably quite even actually in terms of their seasons. But La Rochelle don't lose very often at home. But I do think that Munster are the team that are going to do that. I genuinely just think I don't see it going another way.
Have you been to La Rochelle before?
I have not, and I'm really, really excited. I've actually never been to watch them play in France before at all, so I'm really, really looking forward to it. We're going Friday morning, and yeah, it's going to be a really great trip. And we managed to get tickets. We were all sort of content with going and just watching the match outside the stadium because their games are famously hard to get tickets for. But not that hard. So we just got them, and we'll be there inside the stadium. And yeah, we're really, really looking forward to it. And I think, the players are looking forward to it judging on like, you know, just what you'd hear and things like that. And I think hopefully, you know, it looked like Munster got through their match yesterday without any further injuries, which is always good. And yeah, I think that they might be at the start of a run. Like they might sort of hit the end of the season at the perfect time. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. Although, to be fair, like I have my tickets for the Heineken Cup final, and that's not because I had an expectation. That's because it was in Cardiff, and we were like, yeah, let's go to that, no matter who's playing in it. But for Munster to get there, they would have to win most likely away against La Rochelle, away against Bordeaux, and away against Toulouse. So if a team's going to do it, you know, that's one way to do it. So we'll see about that one. If one of the other teams could maybe do us a favor, that would be lovely. But
Jonny, if you're an Ulster fan, what are you telling yourself to get psyched up for your away game to UBB? Like, to be fair, I think at least one of you was like me last season. I got sucked in and thought, ooh, Ulster, they've got loads of talent. Maybe this year is different from them. Both of you outright made fun of me for it, and we're totally right. But 4 months ago, Jonny, you predicted some big things for Ulster. What's going on with the Ulstermen, and can they fix it before they just waltz into a massive buzzsaw?
I think if I'm an Ulster fan, I'm telling myself that Bordeaux's a nice place to go. Right. And then we'll get to come home and not have to worry about the Champions Cup anymore, I guess would be like how I would look at it if it was me.
They're such a weird team. Patricia, this Bordeaux team, they're an absolute riot to watch. They're my favorite team in the top 4 team. They're ridiculous when they're on it. Are you looking forward to seeing this one? And do Ulster have any chance at all?
Ridiculous is a really good word for them, to be honest, because that's exactly what they've been. It has literally just been like words escape you for this Bordeaux team this season. But like they were like that in the pool stages last season and then got to the round of 16 and didn't go further. So I think that they're, you know, these teams sort of come and go as like powerhouse teams, you know, like Saracens came and went, Toulon came and went, Leinster came and went. And it is that sort of thing of, you know, I think a team has to prove that they are that team. And I don't know if we've seen that from Bordeaux just yet. Should they get, you know, like they have to put a run to get past the pool stages this year, I think, to be that team. And that's unproven as of now. If they bring anything like their form this season so far into that game, I mean, they'll ground Ulster down into a powder. Like they could put 100 points on Ulster. They've already played Ulster this season. Ulster played Bordeaux and Toulouse in the pool stages, somehow managed to qualify for the round of 16, and their reward for that was away to Bordeaux. So God love them, they're not having a fun time at all. Like I say, Munster play the winner of this game. Should they win, the winner of Munster La Rochelle, I should say, plays the winner of this game in the quarterfinals. And if Ulster and Munster were to win, that game would be in Limerick. So obviously, I'm really, really hoping for this season's bullshit knockout game result to be an Ulster team who almost lost to the Dragons last week, somehow turning over Bordeaux away. But no, I think that's the
thing. There will be a crazy upset in the round of 16.
There genuinely will. And like, why couldn't it be Ulster? You know, I mean, it won't be. Like that's probably going to be a real blowout. But I mean, I can tell you that there will be a lot of Munster supporters with sore heads potentially watching that game with a great deal of interest in it. But I think, you know, living in the real world for a second, I think there's probably only one way that one goes.
Do you think in our lifetime we'll ever see Damien Penaud actually run full speed?
No, I think he can't be arsed. I think he's too French for that, and I think that's sort of what makes him special.
Yeah, it's his brand. He's like, oh, how fast I have to run? Okay, I'll do exactly that.
Yeah, never over-exerting.
Patricia, Toulouse, speaking of French powerhouses, they're hosting Sale Sharks. Is there any iteration of Toulouse that could possibly lose to Sale? I mean, for instance, if Antoine Dupont was out for the rest of the year.
I don't think so. I think what has always made Toulouse sort of a cut above in the last few years has been they have been this incredible team and they've had the best player in the world with them. It's not, they have never been this sort of one-man team. Like you saw sort of, they got to the Heineken Cup final when he went away for the Olympics. So it wasn't like they couldn't do anything without him. And they've always been sort of this great team that he makes better, as opposed to him being the player that he is and everyone else sort of just being around him. So I I don't think that they necessarily, I mean, obviously, look, it hurts them because losing a player of that caliber would hurt literally any team. But they have quality all through that team. And I think that they will be looking to, I mean, they'll be looking to defend their title, even without him, to be honest. I think that they will see that as extremely possible for them. So I think that beating Sale should be sort of routine for them in that.
I would think so. Johnny, what do you think?
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I mean, I, as always, feel like we should talk quickly about whose fault it is that Antoine Dupont's out for the rest of the year.
Oh, look, I agree. I mean, I agree, man. Like, ban him. I think he should have been cited. I think we saw, you know, not to air my own little personal grievances, we saw a red card for a Munster player yesterday that was complete nonsense when you think about the fact that clear out was penalty only. But you know, just because it's one of my players, I'm not going to say that those things shouldn't be sanctioned much harder than they are. I thought it was a disgusting clear out, and it's robbed us of Antoine Dupont for the rest of the year. But if there's anyone who could come back from an ACL in like 3 weeks, it's probably Dupont. He's probably running already.
Yeah, he's in some sort of sealed chamber somewhere, like breathing some gas that's better than oxygen or something.
I think like a team that's regularly starting 4 international fullbacks in its backline probably has got enough firepower that they can handle Sale Sharks in sort of any set of circumstances. I think like the Ulster Bordeaux game is not where the upset's going to be this weekend, and neither is this one. Like, we could basically write those two off, I think.
I think as well, something that maybe goes underrated slightly was that when Dupont did go off in that Ireland game, obviously France, you know, they won that game really handily. Should have won it by more, probably. Ireland scored 2 tries after France gave up. But I thought Ntamack played really well when Dupont went off, because his role sort of seems to be like he almost kind of supports Dupont, like they could sort of play the other way around. But when he had to step in and be the sort of the main guy and play like more of a traditional 10 that we would expect to see from, say, you know, Finn Russell or Jack Crowley or whoever, I thought he did really, really well in that role. So I think that that's something that he'll have no sort of fear doing for Toulouse as well. And I think that it could lead to some really, really beautiful to watch rugby, to be honest, watching him sort of pull those strings for the rest of the season with the likes of, as you say, Ramos and Kinghorn and LaBelle and whoever else, like whoever they pick, it's going to be, I think that they'll be hard to stop this season, even without Dupont.
At one point, I made a stupid little meme, and it's just Blair Kinghorn talking to somebody, and I made him saying, "Boy, everything has been better since I left that stupid Edinburgh place." And I don't think Craig has forgiven me for that one.
Well,
it's true.
You're right. Like, that's the best thing he's ever done.
It's
100%.
crazy. The Kinghorn we saw with Edinburgh versus the Kinghorn riding the Investec zebra after winning the cup was just like, the guy has found happiness. He's found it. So how are we both feeling right now? So we're only a few days away from the knockouts. Are you excited for it? With the endless format tinkering, it feels like this is when it all becomes much less silly. I think we already kind of agreed on that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for the knockouts to begin?
Overall knockouts, like probably a 7 or an 8. But for Glasgow, like significantly lower than that, because like I don't have high hopes or expectations for Glasgow, but what we do have is the most boring last 16 game. Like Leicester are an okay team; they're a pretty decent team. They'll give Glasgow a decent game. It'll not be exciting. Like I actually possibly would rather lose to one of those massive French teams than have to sit through 80 minutes of watching Leicester play.
God, I hope they beat them. I really, really do.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of Leicester. It seems unlikely, but I don't know. Like I said, like Glasgow always seem to make it hard for themselves. They're like, oh, we're up 4 tries. We can stop playing now. Oh, whoops. Like there's always something.
From what I understand, Leicester are mourning the one that got away in terms of signing a new 10 for next season. So they're probably going to be 2 in their heads to put together an 80-minute performance, to be honest.
Okay, it's picks time. After your predictions we just talked about, that means the final 8. Anyone have I don't think we said any upsets, probably. Like, what did we think? Harlequins are a possibility, but unlikely. And what was the other one? One of the French teams.
I think if you consider Munster winning in La Rochelle an upset, then I would take that. But I don't know if that is an upset, really.
Jonny, what do you think? Are La Rochelle too much of a mess? I'm just wondering if we all agree on the final 8 here.
Yeah,
Of course, I live in America,
think La
so
Rochelle
we're obligated to say the Elite 8, leading to the Final 4. It's March, so there's a legal obligation.
Yeah. I think La Rochelle are just a bit too. You're right, too much of a mess. Like I think a fully fit and firing Munster should beat them, even if it is in La Rochelle. So yeah, I'd probably take them.
Well, of course, Jonny, that means after that following weekend, we'll be down to the 4. Who are the final 4 teams in the Champions Cup this year?
Leinster, Toulouse, Bordeaux,
and Leicester.
No, definitely not Leicester.
You can say Glasgow. I think they'll get that far unless they have to play Leinster in the quarterfinals.
I think we've got to play Leinster in the quarters, and I don't think.
Then you're
Leinster,
fucked.
So I think it'll be Leinster. Yeah. It's Leinster, Toulouse, Bordeaux, and one other, but I don't think who the other one is matters because it's one of those 3 that's going to win. Essentially, it'll be those 3 plus someone making up the numbers.
Patricia, same feeling for you, or do you think Munster could pip something here?
So my sort of annoyance with Munster's run in this season is, in my opinion, it's the wrong way round. If they had to lose in the quarterfinals instead of Bordeaux, I would back them to win that game. But I don't think they'll beat Bordeaux, if that makes sense. So if they were playing, I think they would have a run in them if they had to lose first, because they really do owe to lose one, especially Dupontless to lose. And I think that Craig Casey and Jack Crowley playing the way they're playing could really do something to this Toulouse team, because it's a team that have sort of historically kind of struggled against Munster, weirdly enough, over the last few years. But unfortunately, it's not that way around. They would have to beat Bordeaux first. And if Bordeaux are sort of on the form that we've seen from them this season, I think it will take a team a bit more well set up and then, having a better season than Munster having this year to beat them. So I probably agree, sadly enough. Is it in my best interest to travel to Cardiff to watch a Toulouse Leicester final? I don't know. Like, maybe I'll sell my ticket if it comes to that. But
I'd get to be there while Toulouse break their hearts for the 3rd year in a row. Like, sign me up.
the possibility of that sounds pretty damn good.
That is true. And I was at the final in Dublin when La Rochelle did that to them, and that was a great day. So, maybe it's worth it for that. I do think that those are definitely the big 3. But like I say, Bordeaux are sort of a little bit more unproven in that, because they did sort of look like that in the pool stages last year and then didn't make it count in knockouts. So I think that they have something to prove a little bit more than Toulouse and Leinster, but it's hard to look past those 3 teams, I think, as the sort of the big 3.
Is it fun to go to the Principality? What's the experience like when you go to Cardiff?
Amazing.
Yeah?
I've never been there.
Yeah. Brilliant. I've been for internationals to watch Scotland a bunch of times, and I've also been to Judgment Day in
cool.
Pro 14. Then it wasn't the URC yet, but even Judgment Day was like a great laugh. Yeah, Principality is amazing. It is my favourite match day experience, hands down. It's right in the centre of the city, and if you get the roof shut, the atmosphere is absolutely boiling. Like, yeah, it's amazing.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Does it spill out to the outside? Like, are the streets filled with crazy people?
Yeah. And you can be from the door of Tiny Rebel, which is my favourite pub in the world, to the gates of the Principality in about 45 seconds. It's amazing. It's like right in the centre of Cardiff City Centre.
That's so cool. Yeah, they started advertising it like at the very end of the European Cups last year. All of a sudden, all my ads were like, "Come to Cardiff. You should probably get tickets now. There's hospitality available." And I was like, By the way, real quick side note before I let you go, just a quick URC check-in. Jonny, your Warriors are now 10-4 with 54 points, and everybody's pretending next to Leinster in this competition this year. But they're looking pretty good. I meant to write down the list of the games they've got left. Do you have that in front of you at all?
It is Zebri. I think it's Bulls at home. I think we might have Zebri and Benetton.
Dang.
I mean, it's a couple of pretty decent games to end the season. So yeah, it's a lot more comfortable at this point last year.
Yeah, round 15, away to Zebre. You're back home for the Bulls, and you go to Benetton. Then you have to go to Leinster for the last game of the year, but Leinster probably might not care by then. Interesting. How do you feel? Are you feeling pretty good about Glasgow's chances? Is any chance of a repeat?
Yeah, like
hard to do it twice in a row.
It is, but I think we've got as good a chance as anybody else. And I mean, it looks like at the moment the only place we'd have to go this year would be Dublin, which is a hell of a lot easier than going to Limerick and Pretoria back to back. So, like we should have an easier go, but then we are also more of a target than we were last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll be difficult, but I wouldn't say we've got no chance.
If they go back to back, is Franco right out the door to become an international coach again?
Probably. I hope that we can do some sort of magic to keep him in Scotland in some capacity. I think he's too smart to be Wales coach. Like, who wants to do that? And I know that like his thing is turning teams around and stuff, but there's a limit to how hard you can turn a team around, and that limit is Wales. So we'll see. I think if Glasgow have another really good postseason run and maybe do okay in a round or two of the Champions Cup, like he's got to be a moving on somewhere.
Ready for a terrifying follow-up question? Is Franco Smith more likely to be Scotland's head coach or South Africa's head coach? I was talking to Harry Jones, and he was like, I think we have a replacement for Rassie.
I think Scotland. I think he probably does do both, but I think it'll be Scotland first.
Oh, I like that. Okay, that's fair. Wow, he could be an all-timer. Meanwhile, Patricia, your Munster, they're in 5th place now. That's good. They're 7-7, 39 points. There's people kind of hanging around. Ulster somehow are right behind them, and Benetton right behind that. And then Edinburgh, like the teams that are around them don't feel real. So do you think you're going to be in a better position? Let's see. Let me look what your final games are. You probably
it's Cardiff away, and then Bulls, Ulster, and Benetton at home. So really nice run in actually 3 home games to end the season.
Wow.
I don't know what order they're in. I think it might be Bulls first and then Cardiff. But anyway, like 3 home games left. I know that. I am hopeful that Munster could finish top 4. I think they could sneak that. They're only 5 or 6 points, I think, behind the Sharks. So realistically, that's a win, and then they're right there. And I think that the Sharks have a loss in them where Munster could win. I see no reason why Munster can't win their last 4 games, and that's what they have to be targeting now. Like the season has sort of ebbed and flowed in a negative way, I would say, and then that has to stop. Like, and it looks like they sort of took that after the Edinburgh performance, which was an absolute shit show, rock bottom of the season, brought it back against Glasgow, and I know they didn't win that game, but it was really close, and then managed to beat Connacht, which, as I say, turn into the fucking global gym Purple Cobras whenever they play Munster. It's ridiculous. So it's looking good.
By the way, that last Munster Glasgow game, you both must have been dying a million tiny deaths. For a neutral, that was a great game. That was
every millisecond of it. I never ever
honestly,
want to think about it again.
What possessed you to message us with 3 minutes left of that game and be like, "Oh, hey guys, any chance I could grab a quick photo of you two?" We'll like never.
Because I never watched games live. I'm unaware of the schedule. I don't know if I've ever watched a game except for a Free Jacks game at the time it's live happening.
I just like the fact that we were both like, "Not now, David."
You're like, "Damn it."
But I do think that top 4 is on the table for them, which, given the season they've had, I think they would be incredibly happy with. It obviously, like, they have to go and win those games, and that has been the thing all season, is like putting those performances together like consistently. I think with the players back, they'll be able to do that, but like every game is a knockout game for them now in the URC this season. And to be honest, like once they get in the top 7, then they're definitely qualified for the Champions Cup next season. Anything will happen after that, but I think if they can sneak into the top 4, you have a home quarterfinal in Limerick. I wouldn't count them out, is all I'm going to say. I think we've seen that they're a team who are capable of going on a run, and I think that they have that in them. And I think that looking at the way their players who came back into the team played yesterday, I think that they definitely have that in them this season. So, we'll see. Maybe there'll be a 3rd iteration of the Munster Glasgow knockout game, and it will be Munster's turn to win this year. So we'll see.
Well, and you're right. The last 2 games you're at home for Ulster at Thomond, and then you're home for Benetton at Virgin Media Park. Is that Cork?
Yeah, that's in Cork. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Musgrave Park. So one team from every, what do they call them? Shield. Every hubcap goes to Cork every season, and then the rest of them are never.
Oh, is that the deal? I never knew that.
Yeah, so it'll be one South African team, one Welsh team, and then one Scottish or Italian team, depending on the year, will play in Cork of Munster's
By the
home
way,
games.
Patricia, this might be kind of an obvious question, but Munster, like firing their coach when he had the exact same record as he did the year they won the whole thing, was that a mistake? Was that weird?
I think there were factors that weren't results based that fed into that. Judging on what I've heard at this stage,
He ran over somebody's dog in the driveway. Like,
well, look, Conor Murray's dog went missing, and then 2 days later, Munster's head coach got sacked. And look, I'm not saying the correlation implies causation, but Kevin has got something to do with this, right? Kevin the dog has got something to do with this. I think
tread somewhere in Peter O'Mahony's garden somewhere, and it's like, okay, you're out of here.
I think it was one of those that was unfortunately probably the best decision for everyone involved at the time. Really hurt at the time. And it still does to an extent. Like, I wish him all the best, and wherever he ends up, I hope that team does so well, except if they play Munster, of course. But I think Munster are doing fine with Ian Costello. He's sort of a stable presence internally. Like, he was always there. And Clayton McMillan coming in next year, who's an incredible coach. So I think it's probably an all's well that ends well situation.
Interesting. It seemed really weird as a neutral sort of watching from far away. It's like, this is the.
Oh yeah, it seemed weird. It seemed weird for us as well at the time. I mean, it came out of absolutely nowhere. But I think as time's gone on, we've sort of understood a bit more why it had to happen when it did. So it was one of those, like, just I think it was unavoidable. But I think they'll be okay. I think once they can qualify for the Heineken Cup next season, because that's obviously like a big thing for a club like Munster. It's not, this is not Connacht. This is not, Scarlets. This is not a year in the Challenge Cup will do them well kind of thing. Munster need that gate. They need that competition. So once they're in that position, which I don't see a world in which they're not, then they'll be fine. And like I say, if there's any team who can go on a knockout game run, that's who it's going to be. So everybody watch out.
So I kind of buried the lead by switching to the URC, because I don't think we ever got the answer. I think all three of us agree who the best three teams are, the top three teams in the Champions Cup this year. It's got to be Toulouse, it's got to be Bordeaux, it's got to be Leinster. It's one of those three teams winning it. Jonny, who do you have taking down the big cup this year? Who's riding the zebra?
Blair Kinghorn again. I just think like Toulouse.
Imagine if he could get like a series of pictures like Blair Kinghorn aging on the zebra, like every year he has a slightly bigger beard and stuff. Like, photo 10, it's down to his solar plexus.
I think like Toulouse have got experience of winning the Champions Cup and are really, really good at it. And like Patricia said earlier, they don't have to have the point. They're a great team. They're not a team with a great player. They're just a genuinely really, really, really good team. They've got the experience of doing it, which I don't think Bordeaux have, and they are so deep inside Leinster's heads that I don't think they will ever get out. And so I reckon
I love that idea.
Is probably the safe bet.
So Bordeaux got spanked in the top 14 final last year, and everyone except me was saying, "Oh, they have a good shot. They have a good shot." And I was like, "This is going to be a humiliation," and it was. But I think that made them a lot stronger. I think Bordeaux might have something up their sleeve this year, and especially when they know Antoine's out, like that's got to be some bit of an advantage. Patricia, can anyone besides Toulouse win this one?
I mean, absolutely. I think it will probably be Toulouse as well, to be honest. I think when it comes down to the experience of winning those finals and winning those games, I think that they will know, whoever it is. I mean, I would say whoever it is, but like if it's Bordeaux or if it's Leinster, I don't think there's any fear in Toulouse of beating those teams. They've done that. That's sort of been there, done that territory for Toulouse. They know how to beat those teams. And I think that Leinster are in a worse position to win this competition than they were last year when they pushed Toulouse really close. So I think it would probably actually be an easier final for Toulouse this year if it was Leinster. I think that it's probably hard. It's hard to look past them, certainly at this stage, unless someone does something unexpected before then.
I think I'm with both of you. I think all three of us think Toulouse are going to win. But Patricia, who do you want to win it? who's left that could? I mean, obviously.
Look, like I say, if there's any team who can go on a run, and if you're going to go on a run, I think away against La Rochelle, away against Bordeaux, away against Toulouse is the way to do it. And then obviously a final probably against Leinster. And I'm going to tell you one thing right now: if Munster were in that final against Leinster, I would have literally zero doubt in my mind as to who would be lifting that trophy. It would just be about getting there. So, especially because, you know, Munster win Heineken Cups in Cardiff. That's kind of what they do. That's where they've won. 100% of their Heineken Cups have been won in Cardiff. There was a question went around to the squad this week or last week, I think, on Access Munster, which was, you know, which stadium have you always wanted to play in any sport? And Craig Casey said, well, the Millennium Stadium in a Heineken Cup final, obviously. So, you know, he knows we're getting there. We know we're getting there. And, you know, maybe it is the year for some sort of absolutely ridiculous European run to happen. It was kind of Northampton last season almost. So maybe it's that this year. But that's obviously who I want to win. You know, I want them to win every match, but they don't do that. They lose to Zebra and things like that. So we'll see. But I think it's Toulouse, realistically.
By the way, is Munster-Glasgow the best rivalry in the URC? It kind of feels like it's become that.
So.
I think it might be.
So.
Yeah. And I know that like we're both obviously biased because we do enjoy it a lot. But yeah, no, I think it is. I think it's the players care about it and the coaches care. Like it's not just a thing among the supporters. Like everybody feels like you know, absolute loathing for that other team. So and it's two quite similar teams as well. Like,
and it's only occurring to me now the paths to the title were very similar. These shock away wins back to back, like same way to get there. Both teams, I
will say Munster won 3 away games in their knockout run. Glasgow only won 2 because they were home in the quarterfinal. So it wasn't quite the same. It's a little bit easier for them, but very similar. Yeah. So I think there is that sort of like that hatred because you sort of see yourself in that team. Like the worst parts of yourself are reflected back at you in that team. But it's a really, really fun. I hate Glasgow weeks, but at the same time, you kind of love them because it is, you know, if we met each other in the Heineken Cup, it would be absolutely unbearable. It would just be the most hateful week of both of our lives.
Nobody would want to be around either of us for like
it would not be fun at all.
It's like Bill Simmons describes it as sports hate. It's not real hate, but it's fun. It's fun hate.
It's a little bit real, but
okay, Patricia, Jonny, this has been so much fun. I'm glad I think we kind of all agree, which seems a little weird. That probably means we're all wrong. You know who's going to win? Ulster, obviously. Somehow. But thank you so much for your time. Jonny, I know it's been a rough weekend for you, and Patricia, I'm assuming you have to get back to some movies, so I'm going to let you go.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Be well.
Bye.
And bye.
It gives me great pleasure to be here today.
Oh, it does, Nate.
You want to tempt the wrath of the whatever from high atop the thing?